What's the difficulty with PM Modi?
He tells lies. He claims credit for Ram Mandir. He had no contribution in doing anything about getting the Supreme Court to clear the Ram Mandir project. It was I who did it.
Why aren't you thrown out of the BJP? You don't think that the high income tax is going towards the development of the nation?
Not at all. That money is not used for our development. Essentially, the country is losing.
Realistically, what's India going to look like in 2030?
Assuming that Mr. Modi is going to be the Prime Minister.
Yes.
It will be a 1930 of the United States. We'll be in a massive depression.
What do you make of the coming election season?
BJP should fight without Mr. Modi.
I'm just talking about the average Muslim. Should they worry about their physical or emotional safety in India over the next 10 years?
From Jawaharlal Nehru's time, there has been a deliberate attempt to create a situation where the Muslims feel that they are only safe with the Congress party.
You don't see any elements of Rajiv Gandhi in Rahul Gandhi?
Nah, not Rahul Gandhi is an idiot. His mother is hopeless. She has been working for all the anti-Indian forces in the past. I'm prosecuting them for corruption.
Out of the 650 podcasts that we've recorded, I don't think anyone's been so open. Are you not scared?
I had 18 cases put on me by Mrs. Gandhi. I had escaped abroad to campaign. Then I came back to India with about 25 policemen sitting outside. Nobody could catch me. How do you explain that?
If you've heard of Dr. Subramanian Swamy, I promise you that there's a new angle that's inbuilt into today's conversation. It's as controversial, as fiery, as intense as you know Dr. Swamy's past conversations to be. But if you don't know who this gentleman is, some would say he's one of the most educated Indians in the history of independent India. Some would say he's one of the most controversial Indians in the history of independent India. And some would say that he's a man who does not fear speaking the truth. It's a very, very fiery episode. It's very intense. You may or may not agree with many of his opinions, but don't go into this episode with any assumptions. Just listen to this episode for what it is. I promise you, it will paint a layer of political education onto your mind. It's Dr. Subramanian Swamy on his first ever podcast, and we're honored to bring him on TRS. Dr. Subramanian Swamy, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. I hope you're too.
I'm very, very happy to be spending this Sunday afternoon in New Delhi with you.
Oh, thank you. I'm flattered.
How's life?
Life, as usual, is exciting for me. I'm used to both, hard days and soft days, nice days and bad days. So this is in Gita. Sukhuduke same kritva labho jaya jayo. Like what Lord Krishna says is they are opposites. Get used to them and you'll never be unhappy.
What are you looking forward to at this point in life?
Well, most of the things that I have achieved. I was a professor of economics. I wrote famous papers in economics, joint authored with Nobel laureates who are considered equal to Einstein in economics. So then I came here and I've been 6 times member of parliament. I've been twice a minister. So, there is a general satisfaction, but I am not, I'm not through yet. I have some more to do.
What's there?
Well, I need to clean up the society of corruption, which began about 10 years ago, and I think need to do more. I need to see that people understand the implications of Hindutva and why it's important for the 80% Indian population to understand it and not take it in terms of extremes or in terms of outdated concepts.
Okay. You spoke about the last 10 years, but don't you feel to some degree since independence, there's always been an element of corruption in our society?
Well, see, element is one matter, but what's happening is plunder. And that is something which we need to put out, because essentially it's resources which are going and not in. It doesn't get involved. It is not used. What all the corruption is done, that money is not used for our development in any way. I mean, nobody is building a illegal factory, so to speak. They are depositing it in Switzerland banks and those kinds of things. Any of these islands which have safe banks and so. So essentially, the country is losing, and therefore, I think I would consider corruption as a major issue which needs to be addressed. I'm sorry that BJP is not doing so.
And you're a part of the BJP.
Of course, I am part of the BJP. I've been in Jan Sangh, and then Jan Sangh merged into Janata Party. I was in Janata Party, and now I'm in BJP. So I've been with them for a long time.
Yeah.
Except once or twice when I had difficulty with some leaders like Vajpayee. I have some difficulty with Mr. Modi too, but it hasn't flared up like it flared up with Mr. Vajpayee.
Okay. What's the difficulty with PM Modi?
He tells lies. For instance, he says that nobody has come from China into our territory, which is a lie. He claims credit for people who have done the work, and he says, no, he has done it, like Ram Mandir. He had no contribution in doing anything about getting the Supreme Court to clear the Ram Mandir project. It was I who did it, but he very brazenly kept me out of all the functions and said that he did it, and he got all your new media and all that to recite it. And so, there's been a lot of dishonesty on his part, which is very disappointing.
Have you had an interaction with him fairly recently?
No, not recently. For a long time. I would say since 2020, I have no interaction with him.
What did you speak about in 2020?
Early on, it was economic policy, what wrong is going on, how you should correct this, the direction, what we need to do in dealing with China, so many other factors. So they were all. He also once wanted me to head the BRICS bank for those 5 countries which came together, to be known as BRICS. B standing for something, R standing for
Brazil,
Russia and
India.
like that. But I declined. I told him I left Harvard to come to India. I'm not going to leave India. I'm going to stay here. So he was very insistent. Maybe he wanted me out of India, maybe.
I have so much more to ask you about everything you've just said. But before we break down everything that you just said, I've got to ask you about, this question might be sounding rude, but it's truly not rude.
Don't worry about that. I'm a politician. I've got a thick skin.
No, I'm not going to. It's not a journalistic interview, but I'm going to just put it out there. For you, what is your mission in life now? Because okay, I'll give you some context here, right?
Yeah.
The first time I personally read your name, I'm 1993 born. In college, you used to run your Facebook page very actively. I believe you're still running it, but that's where your name would reach out to me. And I felt like you had some very strong opinions, but you were very, very active. In fact, you were the one political name that reached out to people in my age group a lot because of Facebook that time. I'm sure you're aware of this.
Yes, I'm aware.
I want to ask you now that, because you're in your 80s, firstly, how does life change in your 80s? How has life changed for you? And what do you look forward to now? I'm also asking you this just as a human being. Forget that you're a politician.
First of all, I haven't come to realize that I'm in my 80s yet. So I'm doing exactly what I did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And I don't seem to have any restrictions on energy. I have no problem with my memory. So to say, how do I see 80s? I don't know. I haven't yet tasted 80 yet.
What's your mental age?
I don't know. My mental age was obviously at its peak when I was a professor. That is the peak was at the age of 35.
Are you still 35 on the inside?
Yes, mentally I am 35 and grasping new ideas, reading books, giving lectures. Yeah, I have no difficulty.
Is it fair to say that anyone who enters the world of politics at some point in their heart wants to become the Prime Minister of our country?
Well, wanting is a dangerous word. I wouldn't say wanting. When I came in, people told me that, at most you'll be an advisor or something like that. I became a member of parliament. I became 6 times a member of parliament. I became twice a minister. When people told me I'll never be a minister because nobody will trust you because you will speak on their face and you'll put them out of... all those kinds of things I've heard. And as far as Prime Minister is concerned, since 1980, people have been speculating, I'll be Prime Minister, I'll be Prime Minister. But I have never tried to be a Prime Minister because it's not wrong, it is not right to try to be a Prime Minister. It should be imposed on you.
But shouldn't there be some political strategy involved on an individual level if you want to become PM?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it has happened with Lal Bahadur Shastri. I don't think it happened with Narasimha Rao. There are a lot of people who became prime ministers whom nobody thought would ever become prime minister.
Simply because of merit?
No, because circumstances. You see, there is a general view. Everybody knew that Shastri is a very honest, straightforward person, and he was very efficient in his ministry. And he became. Narasimha Rao became because of a very different reason, that Mrs. Sonia Gandhi thought he will die very soon and then she can take over. She wasn't ready at that shock time when her husband had been killed. He came in, but then he was transformed. I mean, his health also improved very greatly and he did a hell of a lot of good work.
Okay. I'll give you some very amateur perspective, okay? For someone who has not seen your work, and we have even preteen viewers here. So a lot of people are getting to see you for the first time in their life. Okay. Simply because your name is Dr. Subramanian Swamy and you have some very strong views, especially about Hindutva. Now, if one deep dives into the word and concept of Hindutva, they understand the nuanced meaning of it. But we don't live in the age of nuance. We live in the age of X and Instagram and YouTube, where you understand things from a very surface level. So people would automatically assume that you're also the biggest fan of PM Modi, etc. And when they dive deep into your work and your interviews, there are nuances involved. Now, simply because you're associated with the BJP, people have made assumptions about you, especially the people who are seeing you for the first time through this podcast. What would you like to say? Would you like to break any of those assumptions?
No, I mean, I have been from day one. I wasn't in any other party. Of course, the Jansangh, when I started, merged into Janata Party, when all those 5-6 parties merged together. And then out of that Janata Party, when everybody started breaking up, Jansangh broke up but didn't take the old name. They took a new name. They wanted to be a continuation. So they called themselves the Bharatiya Janata Party. So for me, this question of party never arose, except that the people who came from the RSS stock, I am not from the RSS stock, but those who came from RSS training and stock and held positions in RSS, they had an ideology which sort of coincided with mine to a great extent. And I began giving articulation in English. I can do it in Hindi, and I've done it in Hindi too. But English was the one where they felt a shortcoming, and I was able to argue, debate, defeat. So I became important for the RSS and the BJP because of the fact that I could take forward the ideology.
Effectively because of your communication skills.
And my ability to articulate what Hindutva is. So those who come in touch with me suddenly begin to feel that there's nothing wrong. I am also a Hindu and I believe in Hindutva. That sort of thing is widespread because of my campaigns. And that's why, despite Mr. Modi's intolerance towards everybody else, he's thrown away so many people, Jetmalani, that cricketer, Kirti Azad, and so on. So, but a lot of them he has thrown out of the party. But it will be very difficult to him to throw me out because of the fact that I have these roots in the Hindutva feeling.
Why aren't you thrown out of the BJP?
That's precisely the reason that I am considered a Hindu scholar, Hindu activist, person who has done a lot in helping the Hindutva cause on the ground. For example, I did the Ram Setu. I saved it from being cut up so that it could create a canal. I went to court and got it done. I went to court and got Ram Mandir. I've a lot of temples I have liberated from the control of the government. All done. I've done this.
Did you see that little Vice clip about yourself, which Vice documentaries did? There was a Vice.
Oh,
interview.
those Pakistanis who came from Canada.
I don't know which country they were
Yeah,
from.
that thing is owned by Pakistani.
So as a content creator, when you're seeing someone's video, you also see the edit and what layer of paint is being painted upon that interview by the edit. So you were portrayed as a very villainous Hindu.
Yeah.
My question to you is, and I'm giving you space on this podcast, there's no background music. There's no background music at all.
Thank God.
So you can just speak from your heart and you can answer this question. Okay.
Yes.
If one is pro-Hindutva, is one automatically anti-Muslim?
No. My wife is a Parsi. My son-in-law is a Muslim. They don't feel so.
Did you say that to the Vice documentaries journalist?
Why should I? I'm not going to defend myself. I'm giving them my views. And they cut and spliced my thing. And unfortunately for them, when the United Nations Under-Secretary General held a press conference, I wrote a letter to the Secretary General that please give me the tape and show me where I've said this. Otherwise, sack this man. And he was sacked. Under-Secretary General sacked on a letter from somebody in India. So I have defended my position where it mattered. But if somebody says that, I care a damn. I am only concerned with the audience that I am dealing with.
Okay. I can't believe I'm asking you this.
Yes.
Based on your political history and all your educational qualification.
Yeah.
This is word on the ground. Okay, so I'm carrying forward
Yeah.
a very human question for you.
Yeah.
One of the first things that comes up is about your daughter marrying into a Muslim family.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
First of all, she has every right to choose whom she wants to marry. I'll make it very clear.
Yes.
Second, I think my daughter was the dominant factor in that marriage because it was there was no Muslim ceremony for her marriage. In fact, her sagai, as it's called, engagement ceremony, was done by the priests of the Hindu community, the Arya Samaji. His mother is also Arya Samaji. And his father, who was a foreign secretary, Salman Haider, I asked him how would we deal with this marriage? So he said it's all hokum, all this question of religion, all this hocus pocus. I'm an atheist. He didn't say atheist, a non-believer or something. So you do what you like. So in fact, I held a Hindu marriage.
Okay.
And at least the engagement thing, which is the crucial part, was done by Arya Samaji laws and by our Arya Samaji, very famous priest. And the mother was very happy. My wife is a Parsi. And the Parsis were in revolt. Surprisingly, neither my father, my mother, or any Hindu was in revolt because the Parsi community has that kind of a status in our community. But the fact is that I said we will marry. We were both in America, both at Harvard. We called a Buddhist priest and got married. So I think these are technicalities about marriage.
How did you feel when your daughter first came and told you about?
I wasn't. I liked the boy, and I liked the father, and I knew that the father was a left-wing civil servant. He became foreign secretary, ambassador, and so on, and a man of great knowledge. So I enjoyed talking to him. I knew him before the two got to. My daughter and son got together. His son got together. And so, I mean, for me, I didn't see any difference. And I also tell people, all the DNA of all the Muslims in India are the same as the Hindus, which means their ancestors were Hindus. So what are you crying about? Would you be happier if she had married some Italian, as some have done, as you know? She is someone who has the same culture as us. On the ground, Muslims and Hindus have more or less the same culture. So I don't hold that against it. What I am arguing when I speak for the Hindus is how the Hindus should get united. Because they're divided in so many falsehoods which have been perpetrated during the British period, that all that should be shaken off. And the Hindus must know their real history and their real, their religion.
That's your core philosophy that you are able to articulate?
Yes, I articulate.
This is exactly what it is.
I tell them that, people say, the Hindus have ill-treated their women, they take dowry, this, that. I said, you tell me, amongst our gods, the most important portfolios are with women. The Saraswati is with education. Durga is with defense. And who's with finance, Lakshmi. And then, of course, the fiercest of fighter was Kali. They're all women. So can you find any other religion which gives women this kind of position? The status we give to mother, all this has been forgotten during the British and the Mughal period. And that is what I want to revive.
Should the average Indian Muslim who's trying to help grow his own career, his or her own family's quality of life, his or her own nation's well-being. And I've met countless Muslims like that over the course of the podcast itself. I'm just talking about the average Muslim. Should they worry about their physical or emotional safety in India going forward over the next 10 years?
There are a lot of Muslims in BJP, by the way. And they have become MPs, ministers, and so on, both in the center and the state. I think from Jawaharlal Nehru's time, there has been a deliberate attempt to create a situation where the Muslims feel that they are only safe with the Congress party. You see, and then they were pampered by the Congress.
It's PR. It's an outcome of PR.
Not PR. They were actually given, if they were supporting Congress, they were given a lot of goodies, so to speak. And they were also looked after. The police was much more well disposed towards them. And what it created was a feeling in the Hindus. And that's how the consolidation of Hindus took place. And now we have BJP. Which has come to power, largely because of the Hindu consolidation. And but as of now, the Hindus are more interested in a renaissance in Hinduism and amongst Hindus, and then reforming the Muslims. But then there are nations in our borders who don't want this amity between the Hindus and the Muslims, and they're playing an enormous role
in creating the drift.
Yeah, look at Maldives. I mean, this small country whom we saved from being taken over by terrorists now is giving us lectures, and they have brought in the Chinese. They brought the Chinese troops. So it's a Muslim country. And they have used this extreme Muslim thing. There are countries which are very, very difficult for the United States, but for India, they are very, very well disposed. That's Iran, because they are Shias. There is a difference between Shias and Sunnis. And the Shia population in India is very, very sympathetic. There are Bohras and so many. There are different sects of Islam, except the hardline Muslim, who are called, I forget what they're called. They are the ones who make the trouble. or create all this feeling that we are being persecuted, we are being denied, and so on. We were in the partition was created for those Muslims who didn't want to live with Hindus. Those Muslims who wanted to live with Hindus and didn't want to go to Pakistan, they're there. Now, suddenly there are people who are advocates who are saying, no, well, Muslim is a different country, is a different organ, a group, and so on. Beware of the Hindus. You can never trust the Hindus. These are the kinds of discussions that go on in these extremist meetings.
There is chatter of things like very intense Hindu-Muslim riots, which will happen in the next 5 to 10 years if tensions keep building up. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, if there is BJP, there will be no flare-up of Hindu-Muslim riots.
If there's BJP and if there's Congress?
They will do it themselves. They have been in the past doing it. There are plenty of research reports which are available to show that most of the riots were ignited by the congressmen.
Do you interact with Rahul Gandhi?
No.
Have you ever interacted?
I've never interacted. His father was a great friend of mine.
Which is why I asked you.
Yeah, but his mother is hopeless. She has been working for all the anti-Indian forces in the past. So, I mean, I have nothing to do with his mother, and I don't have anything to do with him or his sister.
Right.
And by the way, I'm prosecuting them for corruption in the National Herald case.
From a media perspective, sir, you are our headline machine, honestly. Because in 2024, not too many people talk this openly. And this, I'm trying to find a more nuanced word for harshly. But you're pretty brutal with your thoughts. You're pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Your basic input to the journalist was, you guys are not brave. You guys don't talk openly about stuff.
Yes.
Now, as a podcaster, firstly, I'm not a journalist at all. I don't have that degree. I've studied engineering. I'm here to just understand the world. The theme of this podcast is curiosity. Very raw question to you. How do you expect us to have that kind of bravery? Do you really think that we can openly, brutally be like yourself?
Yes. If you read the Bhagavad Gita, the short answer is, and I'll give you a longer answer with it. If you read Bhagavad Gita, you will never be fearful of anything. See, first of all, you have to have philosophy. What is it that you want? Many things. But what is it in life that Lord Krishna says to Arjuna? That you have only freedom of action, but the results of it I decide. Sometimes you do very good work and get nothing. Sometimes you do no work and get a lot. So therefore, you work for a goal, but be satisfied that you did your best. If you have that mentality, you will never be afraid of anybody.
Do people in political positions of power, specifically like the cabinet or the top of the world of politics, I'm also talking about the opposition, in your experience, does everyone take feedback or it depends totally on the human being?
No, it depends on how, if today's cabinet, I might say perhaps one or two I can exempt. But all the others, they are picked up because there would be a pussycat, because they won't have a spine. They are not people who are, entitled to become ministers. Modi has selected such people. So what do you expect from them? They will never do anything which annoys Modi. They'll always be looking to see what he wants, and they will only act if he tells them act like this.
But according to you, there are 2 or 3 names who are...
2.
And you can't name them.
I can name them. One is Rajnath and the other is Gadkari. These 2 people, they can stand up. But then alone, how much can they do?
Stand up as in what, sir?
They can speak up, frankly. Say this can't be done, this can be done.
If they believe something is going wrong.
Yeah. They're capable, but they are not listened to.
Have you heard of instances where they've tried to speak up?
Yes, I have. I mean, not publicly. And that perhaps is because of the discipline of the RSS system, which is very strong. They have spoken, but in private. And they've told me about it.
Do you sense healthy team spirit?
At the moment, there's no healthy trend. It's Modi and then his Sancho Panza. You know what Sancho Panza is? No, Robinson Crusoe. You'll have to.
I know Robinson Crusoe, but I've never heard of that one.
Man Friday.
Okay.
So, Mr. Amit Shah. And the rest is all, they have to obey.
Have you interacted with Amit Shah?
No need to.
Never?
He's not, no. There's no point. I know what he has done in Gujarat and I don't think I want to meet him.
Would you like to see a podcast with them? With PM Modi and Amit Shah?
If you arrange, I'll definitely come.
Okay, I'll give you my very innocent and perhaps amateur and perhaps novice reading of the situation. My personal angle is I feel traditional journalism in a lot of cases approaches these kind of interactions in a very combative manner rather than from a curious and seeking oriented manner. And I'm sure you're feeling a sense of that right now as we are speaking. It's just open.
You're different. That much I certainly have felt.
Well, thank you, sir. I personally believe everyone should be allowed to express their nuanced opinion. Everyone shouldn't be allowed to express their opinions just for headlines. There are a lot of assumptions that people make about yourself, that people make about Amit Shah, that people make about PM Modi, which I feel can be sorted to a large degree if they just are able to speak in a civil manner like this. Or even if it's a debate, rather than you guys going on a news channel, you all should be on the Ranveer Show. And I should be able to neutrally have you guys at least talk. That's what the youth want. That's what the audiences also want.
Sure, I will definitely be available for that, but these two will not be.
Why?
You ask them. They don't think that they need this kind of thing at all. They think everybody fall in line. I'm the only one who's been allowed to stay so far.
I know that in a politician's journey, there's two aspects. There's governance and administration. And then the other aspect is the elections. Now, the elections are all about gaining more votes. Effectively gain a person's vote, usually by touching their heart in some way. Fair to say? I think they'd be able to reach out to more people's hearts if they speak openly, because there's a lot of mystery surrounding them right now. In terms of audiences have gotten very, very sharp. For example, we have a Hindi podcast as well. It's become more difficult for me to conduct the Hindi podcast than the English podcast.
Yes, I agree with you.
Because the masses have become very intellectual.
Yes.
So I think they should just come out and have a conversation the way you and me are speaking.
They won't, but because by nature they were not brought up on that way. Take this latest one of...
Electoral bonds?
Electoral bonds.
What's your take?
It's a mighty scandal. I don't think he can escape it.
Okay.
Because it's gathering momentum.
The story.
The truth.
As in, I'm saying story from a media perspective. This chapter is
the
gathering
truth is
momentum.
that people who were bankrupt obviously had dirty money and paid in large amounts, and then they got contracts from the government when they should have been thrown in jail. So such things are all coming out. Nothing much has come out so far. But what has come out is enough to know what is coming out very soon.
There's more that's going to come out?
Of course. There's so many aspects of it. Right now, the United States, for the first time, has decided to prosecute Mr. Adani. What was Mr. Adani doing that we didn't know? But the Americans have got something, and nobody is going to tell us until the Americans tell some of us. So the issue basically today is there is no transparency whatsoever. And there are a lot of lies that are being... Take, for example, the occupation of 4,065 square kilometers of Ladakh by China since 2020. What has the Prime Minister said about it? That nobody came, koi aaya nahi, koi gaya nahi. right? But that's not what is the truth. And I have filed PIL, not PIL, this right to information. And I had to go all the level. Nobody answered it. This is not that they said, no, it is not true, or oh, this is the truth. And finally, I had to go to the judicial part of the right to information, and they were instructed. The ministries were instructed that there are 7 questions Mr. Swamy has raised. Please answer this by 2nd April. Now I got to see whether they do. How can they answer now after saying that Chinese have occupied nothing? That they have occupied 4,065 square kilometers of undisputed territory in Ladakh. Why is Mr. Modi keeping quiet?
Does this affect election season?
Well, it depends on whether I'm able to effectively put it across. I personally feel that BJP should fight without Mr. Modi. And BJP will definitely win only on the Hindutva issue. But with Mr. Modi there, it will get diluted.
You think he shouldn't be a PM?
He shouldn't be a candidate of the BJP.
And rather than him, who should be the candidate?
Well, there are plenty of people. That is usual thing we have heard from Jawaharlal Nehru's time. After Jawaharlal Nehru,
who would you like to see?
I don't like to say. So if I leave out some name, the other chap will feel I betrayed him.
Nuances of being a political human being.
That's right.
What do you learn about this world of politics in the long term?
It's a wonderful area. The people have aspirations. If you meet them, they are grateful. You see your country growing, and you're respected abroad. Then, so it's a very wonderful experience for me.
What's the inner motivation for most of the people in the upper rungs?
Well, if others don't come, people like me who have been professors at a famous university of the world, and come back, and after getting kudos in this field, and then enter politics, people listen. But people don't want to do that. They're afraid. They say, why get into this? I've been told from my childhood that don't go to politics. It's a dirty field. You can get killed in it.
Is the dirt true?
Occasionally. Some such things have happened in Gujarat, for example, recently. Recently means about 10 years ago. So it can happen. It happened in Mrs. Gandhi's time. So that Nagarwala case. There are many others. So, I mean, these things happen. But the fact is that only creates fear. And the fear is induced also by, selected media. Then politics is dangerous. And then question will become, how do you make ends meet? So I think people who have earned enough, put aside plenty of money, only they can come. Then they can be independent. I mean, living expenses can be easily met by them. Those are the people who we want in politics, and there are a lot of such people.
You expect many entrepreneurs to get in?
Slowly, it's happening. It will happen.
Okay.
I think India is definitely, is shaping up very well. We are not what we were during Jawaharlal Nehru's period, where we just adulated somebody. And now people are coming, now people are criticizing people. There are a lot of people who are with PhDs, have many PhDs now in politics.
How does one navigate through that dirt of politics when you're actually living that political career?
Well, I mean, it depends on what position you are in. If you are not in a top position of the party, then you just stay away. I mean, stay aside and don't get into it. Speak about policy. Let the media. Of course, today the media has all been shut up. Everyone has got a plaster put on by the Prime Minister's office. They won't publish. For instance, there is a fatwa issued by Mr. Modi that no English newspaper of Delhi will publish anything about me. And nothing appears. Last 4 years, nothing has appeared. Not one line has appeared about me in any of the English papers, with the rare exception and very occasional exception of the Hindu, which whom I know from top to bottom.
What's gone on behind the scenes at the Hindu?
Nothing. There are people who know me, so they occasionally put it, and then they get questioned. Why did you do it? They said, no, he wrote on economics, and it's got nothing to do with politics, that sort of thing.
Where else, as a podcaster, will I get someone who's this direct? We're from within the BJP. From within the BJP.
Everybody says only one, me, and nobody else.
Are you not scared?
I was not born that way. And my mother used to say that there's some wire missing in your brain, that you're never afraid of anything. But there was a Hindu-Muslim riot in Turkman Gate in Delhi in 1947. I was a 7-year-old boy. And I suddenly vanished into the Turkman Gate to see what's happening. My mother was, really besides herself. And then we came back and she asked me, what did you do? I said, I went inside and just looked around. And some shopkeeper gave me some food. And then I came back. Now, she couldn't believe it, but this happened. Emergency. I had 18 cases put on me by Mrs. Gandhi. I had escaped abroad to campaign. Then I came back to India with 18 cases on my head. I landed in New Delhi airport, went to my own house and lived in my own house with about 25 policemen sitting outside. And then came to Parliament and made a 1-minute speech and buzzed off. Nobody could catch me. How do you explain that?
Have you ever been in danger physically? Like, have people come
It's
to...
been pointed out to me that you're in danger. But my faith is Lord Vishnu.
You've never had anyone trouble you or anyone...
But they have been. In the emergency, there was a lot of trouble.
Not now?
Now, I have not had it.
What's the workings of the BJP as a party on the inside?
Right now, there's nothing. It's all broken up. We have a very wonderful party constitution. All that has been disrupted. Everything is nominated by Modi. So Modi and Swamy, they are only two members whom you can call as genuine members of the party.
What about pre-2014?
Well, much before pre-2014, there was elections regularly. There were changes in the presidentship without anyone deciding who it will be. There was voting. It was one of the finest system that had been there from Jansangh days. And that has all been thoroughly disrupted by Mr. Modi.
I remember the interview you did with AAA News again. You spoke about how the data that we receive as the audiences about the GDP growth is not
bogus.
It's manipulated accordingly.
It's bogus. Yeah, I agree.
But do you not believe that the current BJP government has done any positive for the country?
No, not any positive thing. Many things are done without even the government doing anything about it. So there are lots of things that are happening which are very positive. Indians, for instance, going abroad, that's not the government doing it. There are people who strive to do it. They go and make money. The question is, as the agricultural growth rate, the manufacturing growth rate, and the services sector growth rate, are they what the government is claiming it to be? 8%, 9%. Rubbish. It's not more than 4%. How do I know that? Because I recalculated the whole thing. One of the things that they are doing is they are evaluating GDP at current prices. That means it includes the inflation. So much of the growth rate of 8%, half of it is due to inflation. Keep it at the 4 years ago, 5 years ago prices rate, and then evaluate the products. And then you'll get only a 4% growth rate. which is very, very poor.
So you're saying that the 8% that's showcased to the public is to create a positive
How can you create
PR
a
game.
positive thing? Well, it will be soon found out. Why is there no decrease in unemployment? But they don't publish it. I've got a copy of it.
So realistically, practically, what's India going to look like in 2030?
What is India going to look to 2030, assuming that Mr. Modi is going to be the Prime Minister?
Yes.
It will be 1930 of United States.
Recession and
The
unemployment.
Great Depression. We'll be in a massive depression.
Economically, this is the economics professor inside you speaking.
Economically, people will be on the road. You'll have to produce, like in the United States, it was there.
And what are specifically, if you get a little bit into economic policy, according to you, what are 3 to 4 very wrong decisions that we're taking?
Raising income tax rates regularly, hiking the interest rates, which discourages people, not caring about the demand side of the economy, and going for the supply side. You can have a large number of cars in the showroom, but nobody is buying it, or very few are buying it, like that. So inventories are growing.
So this narrative of us getting into manufacturing, that we should be getting into manufacturing.
We must produce demand. Demand is very poor in India.
Because most of our population is...
Yeah, there are no much income, we see. The inflation is eaten up most of it.
So if you were in charge entirely of policy, you would first and foremost cater to increasing demand by elevating poorer sections of society.
No. I will start by abolishing income tax. And I will create a huge new mentality in the country. People will jump with joy. You don't know how much they will jump with joy. And that money, I will tell them, put it in the bank that you're getting. And it'll give you not 4%, 5% interest rate. We'll give you 9% interest rate. And then use that money for investment. People will save gladly. If you say that for 5 years they will get 9% interest, everybody will come and put the money there for you.
What's the point of having high income tax?
What's the point? There's no point. Income tax, you can't collect it. Who collects it? So it's all been collected for the personal pockets of the income tax people and the ministers who get a cut.
So you don't think that the high income tax is going towards the development of the nation?
Not at all.
But all this progress that we see, at least in roads...
Which progress? They are all... roads. How much does it cost to build a road? That's because of Gadkari. Nothing else. If there was no Gadkari, you would have had potholes like you had in Bombay. Every monsoon, whatever road was built, it just goes into potholes.
But he's also receiving the money from somewhere to do that job, right? Like,
which one?
I'm trying to understand economics better. I'm not trying to...
Yeah. You tell me what money.
I mean, okay, for example, everyone who's pro-BJP would always showcase everything that Nitin Gadkari has done as an achievement of the Modi government.
Of course they will, but why is it not happening elsewhere?
I mean, my question is, so even with this 2% income tax thing, I think you'd spoken about it on AA News, that you want to reduce income tax rates to 2%.
Zero.
Okay. Even if it's zero, will Nitin Gadkari get the same amount of money to build out all the roads?
He doesn't need to. He's getting enough money by using the usual methods. That is of saying that the payment will be made to those who build the roads after their roads have been built. So there are variety of ways he has shown great dexterity. That even if you cut your thing, he will get the work done by saying, okay, you do this, and then I'll give you plus 2% more.
Dexterity is the word. Basically,
Yes,
sort of, in a way, some sort of business acumen.
But this is not what he should be doing. He should be given money. What is that difficult? Suppose there is a shortage of demand in the country. I print notes. That's not inflationary, because that money that goes to the unemployed who become employed and get their salary, and they'll go to the market and spend it. And so the supply glut will be over. Today's problem is that the demand side is weak. Supply is plenty, relatively. So to correct that, the best thing is put money in the pockets of the people. And therefore abolish income tax. And income tax is abolished for agriculture, by the way. It is not paid much by the rich because they got chartered accountants and corrupt income tax officials. And those below the poverty line, they don't pay. So it's in the middle class, the upper middle class, which are the innovators, which are the educated people. They are all suffering. They can't pay for their schools. Today, the schools are getting so expensive, they can't send somebody to IIT for education because the fees required is very high.
You're a Harvard professor.
Yes.
In economics.
Yes.
Why do you think your voice or your thoughts are not heard then?
That's not got anything to do with Harvard or my voice, you see. He said, basically, I'm a political threat. If I'm a minister, I won't listen to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister says, do this, and I say, no, sorry, this is wrong. It will not be, I can't do it. Then what will he do? So that is the problem. I am a person. Now, I was very successful as a commerce minister in Chandrasekhar's government because he let me do whatever I wanted to do. And we transformed a total near bankruptcy of our exchange, foreign exchange. I turned it into a growing surplus. Then Mr. Narasimha Rao came, I gave him the same advice, and he raised the growth rate from 50 years of 3.5% per year to 8% in 5 years.
On a human level, does it bother you somewhere that your opinions are not?
No, not at all. God is there.
You trust the God in the results.
Yeah, and he's doing it for the right reason. I'm glad he didn't put me in as a minister with Mr. Modi, because I would have probably been sacked after 2 months. And so God protected me.
Is your heart at peace?
Oh, yeah. So look at you. Can't you not see?
I mean, see, I'll tell you why I'm asking that. I assume everyone in the world of politics, to some degree, their heart is not at peace because of the weight of the world that they support.
No. I don't. Those because they must be having this mistaken notion that they have to carry the weight. I don't believe in all that. I do my duty. And if I'm not able to, well, I just say, God didn't give me the opportunity.
Is Nitin Gadkari's heart at peace?
I don't know. I have not talked to him. I think what he has been put through by Modi, he should not be at peace.
How much of foreign policy is PM Modi's will? All of it?
What is the foreign policy? Policy means what? You are what? Are you a non-aligned party? You are not aligned with anybody? Have you said that anywhere? If you're not aligned, then why are you buying all kinds of junk from Russia? Why are you trading in ruble without going through the exchange rates? There are so many things, you see. Are you for China or against China? You go to meetings where Chinese are. Now the Chinese are not coming anymore. But there was a time when you went and are meeting. I know China very well. I speak Chinese. I've written books on China. I know what the Chinese are up to.
What are they up to?
They are up to swallowing a good part of your territory and show the world India is not a third factor after the United States and China.
Do you believe India is not a third factor?
India is potentially the first factor. It's only a question of time. But we are at the moment at the level of the less than third. I think there's more respect for France today than there's for India.
And according to you, how do we get there?
How do we get out?
How do we get there? How do we become the first factor? potentially we are?
Potentially, well, of course, you grow at 10% per year for another 5 years, you will be.
Effectively, economic policy changes.
One is economic policy. Second is defeat the Chinese.
Militarily.
Yes.
Okay. Won't like a military...
And there you are already frightened. You've been conditioned. I'm telling you, if you decide to take on the Chinese, they'll run from here.
Why
They've run before in 1967 when in that Nathula Pass near Sikkim. Then they ran away in Somdorung Chu Valley in Arunachal in 1988 when Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister. Twice they made it. Now they are coming wherever they want. And Mr. Jaishankar says is we have we have agreed to a buffer zone. What do you mean buffer zone? Either it's your buffer zone he has drawn where India claims to be its territory. After that, what China claims to be its territory is the line that between that two lines is called buffer. What nonsense. Tell the Chinese to get out.
But don't you think it'll spark off a much larger conflict?
Oh, yeah, all the time worried. Yeah. Telling a woman, don't go out in the thing, you might be raped again. This is not an attitude. You're a country with an army of 1 million people. And I know what the army men think. They are very, very sad that they have to watch the Chinese do all these things. And they can't replete.
What's the reason for the lack of action on the Indian
because
side?
Modi is blackmailed by them.
You're talking about some internal stuff.
I'm talking about no stuff at all. I'm just telling you blackmailed. What is blackmailed by? I might tell you later. Maybe in the elections I might tell.
During election season?
I might, but I'm not decided. It's not an easy thing to swallow.
Okay. So simply because of...
Why doesn't he call off the Chinese ambassador and say, go back. Till we clear you out of this line, we don't need the army. That's the first thing anybody would do, but he doesn't do it. Putin, what is Putin? Putin is a servant of the Chinese. He'll not do anything which the Chinese don't want to do. And all the time going and doing sashtangam, including your Mr. Jaishankar, he's been 3 times to touch their feet. So I see it from the other side.
Yeah. There's a geopolitical conspiracy theory attached with your name also.
What is that geopolitical?
Like you're protected by the CIA.
Why don't you prove it?
No, it's just a fun angle on the conversation.
It's very easy to say.
Yeah.
I say, give me some proof.
So the angle is that you have criticized both the Congress and the BJP.
Yes.
And yet you are in a position of power and people keep you
Yeah, I have criticized the United States on a number of issues. And the United States knows that. In fact, I had serious problems with Harvard when I used to go almost every year for about 15, 20 years after I had come back to India. And then I found that they were the left wing had emerged very strong. So I said, to hell with you, and I came back. So this is not... when people say the CIA, I say, how do you know? Either you are KGB or you are CIA yourself. Otherwise, how would you know? Just because I speak in favor of America doesn't mean I become a CIA. I am a man who is a thinker. I think that at this moment of time, the United States is an ally. And we are already become an ally in the Quad. You know about the Quad? Those 4 nations which have come together. So where is the question?
Okay. Do you think that this podcast is going to create any waves or changes?
Every interview of mine creates waves and changes.
Actual changes in policy, in...
No, it will not. It's because these people are duffers. They don't know. They go by knee-jerk methods. If the Russians growl, they will all say, no, Swamy is nobody. He's nowhere in the picture. don't pay any attention to him.
Okay. We had some senior so-called anti-Modi journalists on the show as well, who drew out parallels between the Indira Gandhi regime and PM Modi's regime. Do you agree with that
No,
concept?
Modi's regime is much better.
Much better. You can
Hers
break
was
down?
a sellout to the Russians. She'd even signed an agreement, Indo-Soviet treaty, and she's been involved in many activities which I would say makes me feel that she was a coward. She killed the railway minister
Why?
because he was going to blurt the truth about something. There was a Nagarwala case. Do you know this? It's too long ago. That Nagarwala case, the poor chap died in the jail after she arrested him. There were a lot of, there were a lot of things she did which was wrong. The emergency itself is pretty bad. 140,000 people put in jail without any explanation. See, how many people died in that Nazbandi, as it was called? In English, I don't know what it was called, something. But anyway, everybody knows what it is. It's to prevent them from producing children. So Modi is nothing like that.
You want to speak a little bit about Rajiv Gandhi as well?
Rajiv Gandhi is a wonderful man. I'm sorry he was assassinated. He should have been there longer. He was young enough. I thought him a man of his word, a man who really was nationalistic. He built the Indian army the way no other prime minister built. He had even the guts to put Ramayana on television, and even to tell the Vishwa Hindu Parishad that they can they can start digging. And as soon as he solves the problem of the Babri Masjid, he will allow them to build the temple. A man, a genuinely good person. I liked him a lot. I worked with him a lot. I even formed a government with him when I made Chandrasekhar's government. But I don't think any member of that family is anywhere near that kind of humanity which Rajiv Gandhi had.
You don't see any elements of Rajiv Gandhi in Rahul Gandhi?
Nah, not Rahul Gandhi is an idiot. I mean, he can say anything at any time. There was a time when he tore up Manmohan Singh. He's the Prime Minister of India. He's tearing it up. What kind of a childish thing is it? I don't think he really wants to be in politics. He keeps telling his mother, we got so much money stashed away. Why are we doing all this? Let's go and enjoy life in Europe.
Why do they still choose to be in politics?
Because Ms. Sonia Gandhi knows that even if they go to Europe, they can't escape.
What does that mean?
Because there are a lot of crimes they have committed. They will be prosecuted for that. My National Herald case itself is giving them so much hell.
So staying in politics is
essential for their survival, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk a little bit about Sonia Gandhi? Because she's away from the limelight and...
No, what is there to talk about? She bluffed about her education. She went to London and she went to England first. And with no college degree, no school degree. And what was she doing? She was doing in the beginning some waitress work. After that, she went to London. What she was doing, I can't tell. Because I don't want to tell. Because I don't have any certificate to say that this is what she was doing. But she is unfit to hold any office in India. And she would have been Prime Minister but for me and the then President Abdul Kalam. Both of us found a technicality which we could stop her. And she was stopped. Otherwise, she had everything ready, all the support of letters, everything was ready. And even on television, it was announced at 5 p.m. she will be invited to form the government. I went in the morning, and I would say to the credit of the President of India, he agreed with me. And he told her, I can't invite you to be the Prime Minister till the issues raised by Dr. Subramanian Swamy are not resolved.
What do you make of Manmohan Singh's?
He's a wonderful man, but no, he doesn't have what is it called? A spine. He doesn't have a spine.
So was Sonia Gandhi effectively running the country during his reign?
Yeah, she got anything she wanted done.
So what was his role?
His role was when she was not interested, he performed very well. He was very dignified, very decent. Nothing went under his signature which would implicate him as a stooge.
How do you compare PM Modi's government to the previous government in your eyes? Because you saw
There's
both
nothing to compare because my expectations are higher.
from PM Modi.
I'm not satisfied that Modi is better than Sonia Gandhi or Modi is better than Manmohan Singh. I'm not satisfied with that. All these efforts I put in. In fact, Mr. Modi took all my help when he could. And then the moment he became Prime Minister, Swamy, who is that Swamy? You know, that kind of mentality he has. He's ungrateful, but that's not the reason. I am only saying that there are so many things that we can do for the sake of the country. But he's not doing it. He has sold out to the Russians. He has sold out to the Chinese. And he makes out as if something, and all these lies that are being spread about, nobody has come, nobody has gone, koi aaya nahi, koi gaya nahi. That's what he said. And somebody said the Chinese are come into Indian territory.
So I'm asking you all these detailed questions about the past because election season is coming up.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of first-time voters. The basic question is, how does one know who to vote for?
I certainly think that BJP will win. But I would like to see Modi either not contest or lose in the contest. He is, in my opinion, now not a safe person to be in the Prime Minister's chair.
Not a safe person.
It is not safe for India for him to be in the Prime Minister's chair because he seems to have no values which I don't know whether he had it before or not, but he didn't show up. But now it's quite clear that he is a person who he believes in a kind of dictatorship. And it could develop. The extreme example is that of Hitler. The moderate example of this is Putin. These people started off looking as if they were Democrats who wanted to change things. But in the end, they became monsters. So I think basically I have been saying very strongly, it's not hidden. I've been saying that he should be either defeated if he's put up, but best of all, he's not put up.
Which won't happen?
Can't say, because right now, situation is such. There are people who think that this is not the time to remove him. Maybe after the elections, remove him after 1 year. These are the things that are being told to me.
Within the BJP?
Obviously, I won't talk to anybody else.
Any other predictions specifically about
India is going to be a great country? I am 100% certain. All the things are falling in place. It requires a person who will make the people feel that, that what problem with Modi is, I do this, I will do this, I am doing this. I want people to feel that they must be doing it themselves, but this is the way to do it. So that kind of leadership comes, I think India will be within 5-6 years, it can be amongst the first three, in fact, or first two, because we can easily overtake China.
Hypothetically speaking, if the BJP is in power again, post these elections, and PM Modi is reinstated as the Prime Minister, what do you think his moves will be over 1 year?
Well, he will be making sure that there's no more elections for a long time.
As in elections will be...
Yeah, it will be postponed. Because then he will think now the country is totally with him and he can do what he likes. You just read Germany of 1935, 32 to 37 rather. Same mentality. Started off as a Democrat, and then he saw this huge wave of organized crowds. Many things which I didn't know about him in Gujarat I've come to know. I can't tell you on this forum. I have seen how he has behaved with some people who have become vulnerable and miserable. So there are many things that I know, which today is not the right time for me to speak as long as I'm in the BJP.
Do you intend on leaving?
No, I will not leave. I've never been in any other party. I mean, the party names have changed. Jan Sangh became Janata Party became BJP. But there's no reason, because my first priority is the Hindutva issue. And I've been succeeding. I was the one who got Kailash Mansaro opened from the Chinese, talking to Deng Xiaoping.
I actually want to talk to you about Kailash. I was going to bring it up later, but I'm glad you brought it up. I think you were one of the first Indians to go there after independence.
Not only first Indian, I was the first Indian who got it opened. It was closed after 1935 or something like that.
Isn't it closed currently as well?
No, because of the tensions that is between our countries.
Will it open?
Of course, it'll open if their relations improve.
Okay. Human question. What was it like seeing Mount Kailash?
Oh, it's indescribable. It's indescribable.
Did something shift inside you?
Yeah, it creates a huge impact. Huge impact.
Like what?
It's the whole panorama is indescribable. Both and Mansarovar also, that lake. Go and have a dip in it. Oh my God, what pleasure you get.
That's all you want to say?
What else is saying, they say?
I have heard some very esoteric and abstract stuff from a lot of people who've seen it and who've been there.
Yeah.
They've said that they've got a new mission for life after seeing Mount Kailash.
Well, maybe not for me, but for me, I've a sense of achievement because I got it opened. It was closed for such a long time. And I got Mr. Deng Xiaoping to agree to open it.
What is the purpose of your life?
My purpose of my life to do what I like. That's nothing more. I don't know. What I like keeps coming and going. There's no particular purpose of life. I certainly would like to see India as a very strong country, which has recovered all the lost property of India, the land property, and grows at 10% per year for 10 years.
Okay. But so the underlying purpose is all about your country.
Yes, naturally. What do I need? I've got everything I want.
Because these imposed geographical boundaries encase the culture that gave us our identities.
Whatever it is, we know that from Himalaya to the Indian Ocean, we have been recognized in the Vedas also. People say, no, Hindustan is a term given by some Muslims abroad. Nonsense. It's there in the Vedas, Hindustan. So, in fact, the word Hindustan comes from a Hind to this Hindu Sagar. You put them together, you get Hindu.
When you're to escape during the emergency,
Yes.
Do you want to share that story?
Well, it's technically it's a long story, but basically what I did is first time when the emergency was declared, I went underground, and I was hiding and then traveling around the country in disguise.
Really?
Yeah.
Where were you hiding?
I was hiding in various houses because the RSS has houses everywhere because their Swayamsevaks are available. And of course, my dress changed. I wore the false dadi and a sardar thing, and I went around the country. And suddenly Jai Prakash Narayan sent me a message saying that, listen, your going around the country is of no value to us. What we need is where you go and propagate propaganda. And that is the best place is America, England. These press is read here. Their BBC is heard here. So we go to England and the United States and campaign and tell people what's going on, because we are getting information that people don't believe that 140,000 people have been put in jail without any reason or cause. So I went abroad by first going from Madras to Colombo and then flying over to London. And then I went to the United States and campaigned. Of course, Harvard gave me back my teaching job. So I had money also.
Were you not afraid for your family's safety in India?
Well, I mean, I have a very tough wife. She herself has written a book, roller coaster, about life in a roller coaster with Swamy, or something like that. It's a bestseller. So she's a tough lady. She's a Parsi, but she's a very tough lady. And she brought up two children, small children, Suhasini, who was then 2 years old, and Geetanjali, who was then 5 years old. And she brought them up. Yes, there was 20 months of being without her. And I went and then decided one day that since there are hardly any demonstrations anymore, people are thinking that everything is shut down. So I must do something. So I thought the best thing is come back to India, slip into parliament, make a short speech and disappear again, so that the world knows that we have such a massive network that Swamy can come despite 18 cases under his head, Interpol notice, all that. He came to India and he went to Parliament, and all these people just looking aghast, and then he disappears. They can't find him, and he ends up in America again. So that completely smashed Mrs. Gandhi's thing that everybody is agreed now, all trains are going on time and all buses are going on time, that sort of thing. So that Mrs. Gandhi's decision to go for election came out of that incident of mine. And then she lost.
Okay. This has been a very bold podcast, sir. That's all.
That's your problem, not mine.
Is it though? Is it my problem? Is it my problem?
No, so when you say bold, I only can say for me it's natural. Speaking my mind.
I constantly think about this. What is the purpose of life and career question? In media, it's about just trying to extract the most amount of information, especially in this format. I come into every single podcast with no judgments. Tomorrow, if I'm podcasting with PM Modi, I'll erase the memory of this podcast and go in and just try asking him what I'm feeling on the spot, which is what I tried doing here with you. So I truly hope I've done justice to your mind and the sentences within your heart.
Sure, you have done a very good job in extracting a lot of information from me.
No, thank you for just being so open, sir. I literally don't think out of the 650 podcasts that we've recorded, I don't think anyone's been so open. So that's a compliment.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you allowed us to, patiently extract the information.
That's right.
Lots of respect, sir. Trust me, I feel, as I said at the start, there's a lot of young listeners who are seeing you for the first time. So thanks for whacking their brains a little bit. Appreciate your presence.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Jai Hind.
Bye. Jai Hind.
That was the episode with Dr. Swamy, and something tells me that I'll be recording an episode with him once again. So please, first and foremost, tell me what you thought of this one. Drop your suggestions as well as your questions in the comment section down below. I will be heading to New Delhi once again very, very soon to ask him all these questions. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I'm getting so much of my own political education through all of these episodes. Honestly, believe that it's very, very important for all of us to get multiple inputs when forming our own political opinions, whether you are so-called right-wing or so-called left-wing or so-called pro-BJP or so-called anti-BJP or so-called pro-AAP or so-called anti-Subramanian Swamy. First, listen to all the sides of the argument. First, fill your head with data and fill your head with perspectives. So I hope you're enjoying this political series as much as I'm enjoying recording it. TRS will be back soon. Dr. Subramanian Swamy will be back on TRS very, very soon.